Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. You're drinking coffee, scrolling through your phone, and then you see it, a headline that stops you cold. Elon Musk just announced that AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, will arrive in 2026. That's next year, not some distant future, next year. And in that same interview, he said something even more terrifying. He said that when AGI arrives, it will be the last invention humanity ever needs to make, because after that, the machines do everything. Everything. Your job, your doctor's job, your lawyer's job, your kid's future job that doesn't even exist yet. All of it. Gone. Automated. Replaced. And here's the part that should make your blood run cold. Musk didn't say this would be a tragedy. He said it would be the greatest wealth creation event in human history. But here's the question nobody's asking. Wealth for who? For you or for someone else? Right now, millions of Americans are doing exactly what they've been told to do. Work hard, get a degree, save for retirement, put money in that 401k, sacrifice now so you can relax later. It's the promise we've all been sold, the American dream. But what if I told you that promise is a lie? What if I told you that the system you've been paying into your entire life is about to collapse? And what if I told you that there's a small group of people who already know this and they're quietly moving their money right now before everyone else figures it out? See, here's what's really happening, and this is the part they don't want you to understand. When robots and AI take over the work, the money doesn't disappear, it just changes hands. The companies making the robots, their profits are about to explode. We're talking about profit margins of 60, 70, maybe 80%, numbers we've never seen in human history. Because robots don't need salaries, they don't need health insurance, they don't need vacation days, they just work, forever, for free. So who gets all that money? Not the workers who got replaced, not the middle class that's been grinding for decades, the shareholders, the owners, the people who own pieces of those companies. And here's the kicker. You can be one of those people too. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be an insider. You just need to make one decision, the decision that will separate the winners from the losers in the next 10 years. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that decision is. I'm going to introduce you to a guy named John. He's just like you, middle class, hardworking, worried about his kid's future. And I'm going to show you the choice he made that changed everything. The choice between staying a worker and becoming an owner. Between grinding until you're 70 and retiring at 50. Between hoping the system takes care of you and owning the system yourself. But here's the deal. This window won't stay open forever. Right now, most people are still asleep. They're still living in the old world, the world where a college degree meant something, the world where hard work guaranteed success. But that world is dying, fast, and the people who see it early, the people who act now, those are the people who will win. Everyone else, they'll spend the next 20 years wondering what the hell happened. So if you're tired of being told to work harder while watching prices go up and your savings lose value, if you're tired of feeling like you're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, if you're ready to stop trading your life for a paycheck and start building real wealth, then you need to hear this story. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that 99% of people don't. You're going to understand why the stock market isn't gambling, why index funds aren't boring, and why ownership is the only strategy that matters anymore. I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. First, I'll show you why your degree, your job, and your labor are about to become worthless, and I mean literally worthless, zero value. This isn't fear-mongering, this is math. Second, I'll explain the invisible economic engine that's about to transfer trillions of dollars from workers to owners, and why this isn't a conspiracy, it's just capitalism doing what capitalism does. And third, I'll show you exactly what John did, the 3 specific actions he took that set him free, actions you can copy today. But I need you to do something for me. I need you to forget everything you think you know about money, everything your parents taught you, everything your teachers told you, everything society drilled into your head about working hard and saving for the future, because that playbook is dead. It died the moment AI became real, and if you keep following it, you're going to get crushed. This is your warning. This is your chance. The storm is coming,
and you can either build an ark or you can drown with everyone else. So take a breath, clear your mind, and let me show you the world really works. Let me show you why John is sitting on a beach in California while everyone he used to work with is still stuck in traffic, still stressed about bills, still wondering when things will get better. Because things won't get better, not for workers, but for owners. The next decade is going to be the greatest gold rush in human history, and I want you to be part of it. Let's begin.
Forget everything you know about the American dream. By 2026, Elon Musk predicts the birth of AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, the last invention humanity will ever need. The degree you fought for, the job you rely on, they are about to become obsolete. But this isn't a crisis for everyone. For those who own the right assets, this is the beginning of the most explosive wealth transfer in history. Today, I'll show you why your 401k needs a radical shift right now. Meet John. He lives in New York, works a decent job, and like millions of Americans, he's got one big dream. He wants to send his son to an Ivy League school, maybe Harvard, maybe Yale. He's already crunching the numbers. Tuition, room and board, books. We're talking about $300,000 over 4 years, maybe more. So John's thinking about taking on a massive student loan because in his mind, that degree is a ticket to the middle class, maybe even wealth. If his son becomes a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, he'll be set for life, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. And here's why. While John is saving every penny for that Ivy League tuition, Elon Musk's robots are learning to do surgery. Not just basic surgery. We're talking about precision work at 0.1 millimeters, 0 mistakes, no coffee breaks, no malpractice insurance, no $100,000 salary, just a $20,000 robot that works 24/7 and never complains. Think about that for a second. John is about to spend $300,000 to train his son for a job that a $20,000 machine can do better. Does that sound like a good investment? Does that sound like the American dream? Or does it sound like a trap? But it gets worse. It's not just doctors. It's not just lawyers. It's everyone. The accountant, AI can process tax returns faster than any CPA. The graphic designer, AI can generate a logo in 3 seconds. The customer service rep, chatbots are already handling millions of calls. Even the programmer, the person who builds the AI, is being replaced by AI that writes its own code. So what happens when intelligence becomes free? What happens when the most valuable thing you own, your brain, your skills, your 20 years of education and experience, suddenly has no price tag? What happens when companies realize they don't need to pay you $60,000 a year when a robot can do it for free? Here's the brutal truth. In the old economy, scarcity created value. If you were one of a few people who could do something, you got paid well. Doctors were rare. Lawyers were rare. Engineers were rare. But AGI destroys scarcity. When everyone has access to infinite intelligence, intelligence itself becomes worthless. And if intelligence is worthless, what happens to your labor? What happens to your paycheck? What happens to your retirement plan? John doesn't know this yet. He's still living in the old world, the world where hard work equals success, the world where a degree equals security. But that world is dying, fast. And if you're still betting your future on your labor, on your 9 to 5, on your salary, you're building your house on sand. But here's the thing. This story doesn't have to end in disaster. There's a way out. There's a lifeboat. But to see it, you need to understand what's really happening. You need to understand the invisible engine that's about to change everything. And that's what we're diving into next.
Let's talk about something most people don't understand. The real reason the stock market keeps going up. It's not luck. It's not speculation. It's math. Cold, hard, inevitable math. And once you see it, you'll never look at your 401k the same way again. In the old economy, growth was always limited by one thing: labor costs. If you wanted to make more cars, you needed more workers. More workers meant higher wages. Higher wages meant higher prices. Higher prices meant inflation, and inflation ate your savings alive. This is why your grandparents could buy a house for $30,000, and now that same house costs $800,000. It's why a college degree that cost $5,000 in 1980 now costs $60,000. Labor costs kept rising, so prices kept rising, and your cash kept losing value. But here's where everything changes. Robots don't ask for raises. They don't form unions. They don't take sick days. They don't retire. A robot that costs $20,000 today will work for you for 20 years without a single extra dollar. And in 20 years, that same robot will probably cost $5,000 because technology gets cheaper, not more expensive. So what does this mean for businesses? It means their profit margins go from 15% to 50% to 80% to numbers we've never seen before in human history. Because when labor costs go to zero, revenue becomes almost pure profit. And when profit explodes, stock prices explode. This is not speculation. This is arithmetic. Now, here's the part that blows most people's minds. Who owns those businesses? Not the workers, not the people who used to have jobs. The shareholders, the people who own the stocks, the people who own the index funds. So while John is worried about his son's medical degree, the people who own shares in the robot companies, the AI companies, the automation companies are about to become unimaginably wealthy. Not because they work harder, but because they own the system. And here's the kicker. You don't need to be rich to own the system. You don't need to be a Silicon Valley insider. You don't need $1 million. You just need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. Because the difference between these two mindsets is the difference between poverty and wealth in the next decade. Let me make this crystal clear. If you own shares in the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100, you own pieces of the top companies in the world. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla. These are the companies building the robots. These are the companies deploying the AI. These are the companies that will have profit margins of 60, 70, 80% when labor costs disappear. And when their profits soar, your shares soar. You're not gambling on one company. You're not betting on one technology. You're betting on the entire system, and the system is designed to grow. But wait, there's more. Energy, the other half of the equation. Right now, energy is expensive. Oil, gas, coal, it costs money to dig it out of the ground, refine it, ship it, burn it. But solar, wind, once you build the panel, once you build the turbine, the energy is free. The sun doesn't send you a bill. The wind doesn't charge you rent. So imagine a world where labor is free because robots do the work, and energy is free because the sun powers everything. What happens to production costs? They go to zero. What happens to corporate profits? They go to infinity. And here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Do you want to be on the receiving end of that infinity, or do you want to be the person begging for a job that doesn't exist anymore? Because that's the choice. That's the only choice. Own the system or get crushed by it. John doesn't see this yet. He's still thinking about student loans. He's still thinking about paychecks. He's still living in a world that's about to disappear. But some people get it. Some people are already moving their money. And in the next chapter, I'll show you exactly what they're doing.
It's 2030. John is sitting on a beach in California with his family. Not because he's on vacation, because he doesn't need to work anymore. His phone buzzes. It's a notification. Dividend payment received, $2,300. He smiles. This happens every quarter, like clockwork, because back in 2025, John made a decision that changed everything. He stopped saving, and he started owning. Let me tell you what he did and why it worked. Instead of putting $50,000 into his son's college fund, he put it into a simple index fund. S&P 500, NASDAQ 100. Boring, right? No exciting crypto, no hot tech stock, no get-rich-quick scheme. Just the plain vanilla index, the top 500 companies in America, the top 100 tech companies in the world. That's it. And here's what happened. From 2025 to 2030, those companies didn't just grow, they exploded, because everything we talked about came true. Robots replaced workers, AI replaced professionals, solar panels replaced coal plants, and profit margins went from 15% to 60%. The stock market didn't double, it didn't triple, it went up 5 times, maybe more. John's $50,000 became $250,000, maybe $300,000. But here's the best part. He didn't sell because he doesn't need to. The companies pay him. Every quarter, they send him dividends, because when a company makes $10 billion in profit and has no labor costs, they share that profit with the owners. And John is an owner, not a worker, an owner. His son, he didn't go to medical school. He didn't spend $300,000 on a degree. Instead, John taught him something more valuable: how to own, how to invest, how to let the system work for you instead of grinding yourself to dust for a paycheck. And now his son is 25 years old, financially independent, and he's never had a real job because he doesn't need one. This sounds like a fantasy, right? It sounds too good to be true, but it's not. This is exactly what Elon Musk means when he talks about universal high income, not universal basic income, where the government gives you scraps to survive. Universal high income, where everyone who owns a piece of the economy gets a piece of the profit. The robots work, the AI thinks, the solar panels generate power, and the humans collect the dividends. But here's the catch. This only works if you own. If you're still thinking like a worker, if you're still trading your time for money, if you're still saving cash in a bank account, you're going to get left behind. Because cash loses value. Savings accounts pay 1% while inflation runs at 3%. You're losing money every single day. But ownership? Ownership grows. Ownership compounds. Ownership is the only lifeboat in the flood that's coming. So let me give you 3 actions, 3 things you need to do right now, today, not tomorrow, today. First, stop putting money into degrees and certifications that will be worthless in 5 years. Education is important, but debt is a trap. If you're going to invest in learning, invest in skills that robots can't do yet: creativity, strategy, human connection, but don't mortgage your future for a piece of paper. Second, move your money from savings into index funds, not individual stocks, not crypto, not commodities. Index funds, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100. These funds own the entire market. They own the companies that will win no matter what happens. When the economy grows, they grow. When technology advances, they advance. You're not betting on one winner. You're betting on civilization itself, and civilization doesn't lose. Third, give it time. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. The magic of compounding only works if you let it work. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The longer you hold, the more you win. Because every year, those dividends get reinvested. Every year, those companies get more efficient. Every year, your ownership becomes more valuable. And one day, maybe sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize you don't need a job anymore because your assets are working harder than you ever could. John made his choice. He chose ownership. He chose freedom. He chose to ride the wave instead of fighting it. And now he's sitting on that beach, watching his kids play in the sand, knowing that no matter what happens to the job market, no matter what happens to the economy, he's safe because he owns the system, and the system takes care of its owners. So here's my question for you. Are you going to keep trading your life for a paycheck, or are you going to become an owner? Are you going to keep believing the old lie that hard work equals wealth, or are you going to embrace the new truth that ownership equals freedom? The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking, and every day you wait is a day you lose. If you're ready to make the shift, if you're ready to choose ownership, leave a comment below. Just 3 words: I choose ownership. Let me know you're serious. Let me know you're ready, because the future belongs to the owners, and I want you to be one of them.